ました山本太郎と申します。よろしくお願いします。ですね、この特定秘密保護法に関して、国会が始まる1ヶ月ぐらい前からですね、北海道から沖縄まで街頭に立ってマイクを握ってこの危険性というものを市民の皆さんに伝えてまいりました。
As was earlier introduced, I have been a lawmaker in the upper house since summer of this year. My name is Taro Yamamoto. Since even before this current diet session, in fact, for about a month before this diet session began, I have taken to the streets, traveling throughout the nation from Hokkaido in the north all the way to the southern islands, to express my tremendous concern about this current bill.
どうして僕が街頭に立たなきゃいけなかったか、まだ国会も始まっていなくて、本当は国会の中で仕事をしなきゃいけないんですけれども、どうして街頭でマイクを握ったと申しますと、やはり大手メディアからほとんど聞こえてこない。この以前は秘密保全法って名前だったんですけれども、秘密保全の秘の字も聞こえてこない。これは本当に、あっという間に国会が始まったら決められてしまうだろうと。それを止めるためにはたくさんの市民たちがこの実情っていうものに気がついて、そして大きな声を上げるっていうこと以外はもう止める方法がないっていうふうに思ったんですね。だから全国をずっと歩いてまいりました。
You may wonder why in the world I had to take to the streets in this way, why I had to speak out in the streets even before the diet session actually began. One might think that since I do have a place in the upper house, my true job would be, once the diet session started, to speak in front of other lawmakers. However, I had realized even back then that the major media were not taking up this theme at all. The original name for the secrecy bill was, a literal translation would be the Secrecy Preservation or Conservation Law. However, even the word secrecy was not mentioned in the press at all. Therefore, I felt tremendous anxiety. I knew that if things stayed as they were, then once the diet session started, the secrecy bill would pass very, very quickly without even anyone being able to stop it. Therefore, I felt the only option for me was to take to the streets to get as many people to know about, to become aware of this bill as quickly as possible. In other words, to raise a very big voice about this matter.
一つ皆さんに見ていただきたい書類があるんですけれども、もうほとんど黒塗りなんですよね。これもう黒いとこしかないっていうぐらいの勢いなんです。これ何なのかっていうと、ベトナムに原発を輸出すると、その時に現地で調査が行われますっていう話なんですね。それには25億円という税金が使われてるんです。でそのうちの5億円は復興予算が使われてるんですね。被災地の人たちに手を差し伸べるための復興予算をどうしてベトナムの原発輸出、その現地調査というものに使うんだと。そのお金どういうふうに使ったの、一体どういうような内容なんですかってことを質問するために資料を請求したら、このような黒塗りなんですよ。もう今の時点で秘密保全できてますよね。完全に完璧だと思うんです。これ今に始まったことじゃなくて、例えば原発の事故がありましたという時にも同じようなことがありました。例えば、放射性物質がどのように大気中に拡散するのかというシステム、この国にはあるんですよね。スピーディーってものなんですけれども、これ100億円以上の税金を使って作られたシステム。どうしてそういうシステムを作るのかというと、有事にもしもの時にこの国に住んでいる人々が被爆しないように、そのようなシミュレーションをできるようにこのスピーディーというシステムが作られたんですけれども、実際事故があった時どうだったか。事故があった時には発表されなかった。隠したんですね。でその情報を手に入れた人たちがいた。誰だったか。アメリカ軍でした。3日後にはアメリカ軍にこの情報を提供した。だけどこの国に住む人々にはそれを知らさなかった。アメリカ軍は被爆しては困るけれども、この国に住む人々は被爆させても構わないっていう態度だったんです。
The document that I wanted to show you just now, you can see that it has been completely blackened out. This document actually is something that has to do with the export of nuclear power plants to Vietnam. This is now, of course, being debated, and as a result, it was determined that a government sort of advance investigation of the situation would have to be done. And in order to conduct this survey or this investigation as to the possibilities of exporting nuclear power plants to Vietnam, some 2.5 billion yen was needed to do this research. However, this 2.5 billion yen came from money that had been allotted to reconstruction activities after the great East Japan earthquake. And so I asked the government to release the documents to give me the results of this, or the information about this research research matter so that I could see why this money was being used and in what way it was being used. However, you can see that much of the information has already been blackened out. So even before this secrecy bill has been passed, there is already a great deal of secrecy conservation or preservation that is already being done. In fact, I think a similar situation has been seen for the nuclear power plant accident. As you know, there was this computer system called SPEEDY, which was supposed to give people in Japan information about how radioactive materials might move in the air after a nuclear power plant accident. However, as many of you know, after the nuclear power plant accident occurred, this information was not given to the general public at all. It was, however, given to a particular group of people. The information from SPEEDY was given to the U.S. military, but not given to the general public. In other words, this kind of information is considered to be very important for protecting the health of the U.S. military, but apparently not to protect the health of the Japanese people.
もうすでに情報は隠蔽されて、そして外国政府との情報、その情報の交換というものも完璧にされるわけですよね。自分たちの国に住む人々を被爆させてでも、そのような状況の中でどうして今このような法律が必要かという話だと思うんです。で、そのスピーディーの話なんですけれども、やっと国民が知れたのは福島みずほさんが国会で追及してくださったんですね。3月の22日に。それで国民たちは知ることになったと。本当に意味がわからないですよね。で、とにかく国民を被爆させてまでも情報を隠蔽しようとする体質、この上にこのような法律ができてしまったら一体どんな国になってしまうんだ、そう思うんですね。
Also, what I want to basically say is that there is already a system in place so that secrets can be preserved or conserved or protected in Japan. There is already a system in place for specific secret information to be exchanged between governments. So why in the world do we need this secrecy bill? I'd like to go back to the problem of the SPEEDY network again. Again, as I mentioned, the government did not on its own voluntarily distribute this information or give this information to the general public. In fact, information about SPEEDY was not given out by the government until Ms. Fukushima, in the Diet session on March 22nd, after the nuclear power plant accident, pushed the government. That was the reason that the government eventually gave out this information. In other words, it's already very, very clear how governments think, or at least how the Japanese government thinks. It wants to be able to hold on to its secrets, even if it means that its own people may be subjected to radioactivity.
それでも国は言うんですよね、この法律が必要だって。どうして必要なんですかって聞くと、安全保障の問題があるだろって、アジアは緊張が高まってるから安全保障の問題で情報が漏れたらやばいんだよって言うんですけど、とんでもない嘘なんです。というのは、今すでに存在している自衛隊法、これで自衛隊内、この国の国防秘密というものは守られるんですね。それだけじゃなくて、アメリカ合衆国との間にも MDA 法、それだけじゃなくて刑事特別法、そのようなもので合衆国軍隊だけじゃなくて日米お互いの装備品であったりとか、そういうものの秘密まで守れるようになってるんですよ。
So, in spite of this, however, the government keeps insisting we need this secrecy bill. They say that you can see what is happening to the security of the nation. You can see that tensions are rising in Asia. It would be a terrible thing if important information were to be leaked to the general public. However, I must say that all of these arguments are false. Because, first of all, we do already have the self-defense forces law in Japan that is a framework for the government to be able to protect secrets that have to do with national defense. We also have the MDA law. We also have the Special Criminal Proceedings law. In other words, we have many, many different laws and regulations that cover all kinds of things, for example, between the U.S. government and the Japanese government, information about military equipment, for example.
それでも国は言うんですね。公務員が情報を漏洩したらどうするんだって。それに対しても国家公務員法であったり、外務公務員法であったりとか、あと地方公務員法であったり、もうすでにあるんですよ。すでにある法律で守れるものをどうしてここまで幅広く、もうどんなことでもこじつけられるような法案を作る必要があるのかってことなんですけど、これ安全保障っていうのは表向きなんですね。これはもう警察権力、それから公安権力の拡大っていうものを目指している。で、結局は国民を弾圧するため、言論を弾圧するために考えられている法律だということはもう分かりきったことなんですよ。今力を持っている権力者であったりとか、時の権力者っていう人たちに対して異を唱えるものは片っ端から弾圧していくぞと、もっとコントロールしやすいようにこの国を作り変えようと、行く先は何か、もうそれはファシズムでしかないですよね。 今僕たちはそういうところに立っていると思います。
In spite of this, however, the government still insists that we must simply have this law. It says, for example, that civil servants might possibly leak information which would be very, very calamitous for the government. However, I say that there are already laws in place. For example, there's the National Public Service Law, which covers civil servants. There are laws to cover regional governments' civil servants, and also the foreign matters or the diplomatic corps personnel. They are also covered by law. In spite of all of these laws being in place, why is the government insisting so much that they want to expand their ability to crack down on anyone that they suspect of possibly leaking secrets? Why do they want to pass this secrecy bill? Their arguments all have to do with security issues, and I believe that is simply a surface, a facade argument. In other words, I think what the government truly is aspiring to do is to be able to increase the authority of the state in terms of national security, national safety, in terms of the police authority. I believe that the secrecy law will eventually lead to the oppression of the average person and the suppression of free rights and free expression. In fact, I do not even have to say this. It is so very obvious what the government is trying to accomplish with this. Basically, the government is trying to pass a law which will allow whatever person that is in power or whatever group that is in power to basically crack down on anyone that it feels is criticizing it too much or is in opposition to it. In other words, the path that we are going towards is the recreation of a fascist state.
もうこの特定秘密保護法っていうのはもう一部政治家と官僚のクーデターだと思ってます。ありがとうございました。
I believe very strongly that this secrecy law basically represents a planned coup d'etat by a group of politicians and a particular group of bureaucrats. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, well now we're going to move into the Q&A session. I see that the microphone is over on that side. I will ask you to state your name and affiliation before you ask the question.